which ends in NVIDIA's fiscal quarters end in January, at the end of January. So it says from now or from end of January 24 to technically January 25, analysts think that on average, NVIDIA is going to make $11.52 per share in profits. So E star 12, NVIDIA, that means FPE is 727. Obviously, it's a much lower number. Only 63.11 years. I mean, even that number is high, but in any case, you should never trading PEs because it is backward looking. Typically, analysts are not too bad in predicting earnings for next year. In any case, I mean, there are how many analysts for NVIDIA? 39 analysts make predictions. Typically, average is much better than individual. The low is 1126, high is 1229. Okay. Every once in a while, you have some hoarding going on. If I'm an analyst, I'm not necessarily feeling too confident about my own prediction. I'm going to kind of shrink myself towards the so-called consensus estimate. Sometimes they hurt and they end up basically overshooting and undershooting quite a bit. Even here, look at the EPS trend. 90 days ago, they were expecting $10 per share for next year. That number went up to 12.29 first, but it's now 11.52. At least for this quarter, 90 days ago, they were expecting 3.45. I don't know why they got this down to 4.29. I think that's a mistake anyway, but so these things also change. But at least as a starting point, but if you're trading in a very small company, you probably have needs to evaluate those financials and come up with your forecasts. Because if you don't know how to do that, don't trade in small companies, individual small companies. You can buy or sell portfolios of small companies. For example, there's an ETF called it's basically an ETF that tries to mimic Russell 2000 index, which is an index of smaller companies, or measures and the leverage way, TNA. If Russell 1000, 2000 goes up by 1%, TNA goes up by roughly 3. Of course, if it goes down by 1%, you lose 3%. But I do that for sometimes short-term actions. So always use the forward. What's more important is companies have different growth projections. For example, and these also kind of change over time. Analysts think that over the next year, EPS is going to grow about 7% compared to the previous year. And over the next 5 years, on average, it's going to grow about 95. That number last week was 102. Apparently, something changed their minds. But regardless, think of, let's do a simple experiment. I'm making, let's assume that's 100%, so it's going to make it easy to do it. Suppose current EPS, what was the number? 858. Well, let's call that $8. Okay? Let's grow that 5 years at 100%. Year one, 16. I added those up. 256 plus 64 plus 32 plus 16. And I'm going to do a radical assumption that after year five, it's not going to be. Means you have 727 minus 496. You haven't recovered yet. 231. That will happen. Zero point 90 years. So sometimes I call this loosely speaking. There are better ways I do this, but it's the topic of a more advanced finance class. Growth adjusted PE is 5.9. Now I look at it 6 years, I don't like it. Trust me, there are many investment opportunities where you get your money in 6 years. How long does it take you to double your money? You divide 72 by the rate of growth. So if I divide 72 by 6, no, 12, I'm going to get 6, right? So it's going to take me a 12% return is going to double my money. So that's going to happen roughly in 6 years. 12% return is historically the return to combination of a portfolio that's combo large caps and medium. So now I'm looking at it very different. For example, let's look at the same number for this class and at 1230. Let's look at Microsoft. Let's do the same analysis. Current price is 404. Let's calculate that. These are rough numbers, but making 10.59 per share. By the way, one of the common misconceptions compared from based on earnings share. Number of shares is a figment of company's imagination. I can simply do a split. But yes, goes on by a factor of 2. Just because Microsoft has a higher EPS than NVIDIA doesn't mean it's better than that. If it was lower, doesn't mean it's worse than that. Do not ever compare firms based on EPS, ever. If you do, please trade with me so that I can make money off it. Because you're going to lose money. So their TTMPE is 404 divided by 1059. $38.15. Well, somewhat more reasonable, still small. But NVIDIA's was about what, 90 for the trailing one? So let's calculate restart valve. Come on. They're expecting 1081. Not much, but not much growth, but still. So FP is going to be slightly lower. So if I was comparing, and a lot of people do this, common mistake. Remember, the function of a smart analyst is to have the fools part with their money. Okay? If you're a fool and you compare it on the bits of those, please say to me, because I'm going to take your money. This basically says, even with the forward P, it takes Microsoft 38 years to recover the money. And NVIDIA does what, 60 plus years? So poo-poo NVIDIA, right? No, thank you. Let's do that by quick and dirty growth adjusted PE. By the way, none of that growth adjusted PE or forward PE you guys are responsible for. This is only for your benefit. Over the next 5 years, analysts expect that Microsoft rather will. The expected growth rate of the US economy